we are live. We're here at CRT Gaming, here with my good buddies Dazpick and Mr. Gohan. We've been away for a little while, but that's been mostly my fault. We kind of had a major snafu. I was poisoned by Ra, the sun god himself, and it's been work just trying to get here to get together to get this done. We're gonna get it done. We're gonna get through this. We've basically been posting our podcast on YouTube exclusively, and for doing that, we're going to include some gameplay footage here in the future of the games, just so you can kind of see what we're talking about. Maybe it doesn't line up with exactly what we're saying, but you should get a gist of what the game is and what it involves. Last week we did Ninja Spirits on the TurboGrafx 16, and this week we're doing Shinobi on the PlayStation 2. This lovely gem was hand-chosen by the one and only Dazpick. And let me start by asking, why did you choose this lovely nugget, Mr. Dazpick?
Well, it's being a little masochistic, I think, and my memory of the game when I first got it was that it was incredibly difficult, and it was definitely beyond my skill set. I enjoyed it. I loved the look of it. And I remember that a lot, and I wanted to, because I knew you guys hadn't played it, so I wanted to make sure that this was one of the Ninja games that you hadn't played, so you definitely needed to, and to feel the pain that I felt when I originally played it.
It was definitely challenging. It was more than I was ready for, to be honest with you. It was very... like I said, it's been a while since I played like a PlayStation game, a PlayStation 2 game to be more specific. But for the time period, though, I think the graphics on it looked pretty good. I mean, you know, they're obviously dated by today's standard.
For sure.
For the time period, I think it looked good. It did look pretty good.
Yeah, I loved his art style with the flowing red scarf, and that was really what stood out to me. His overall look was awesome. It definitely wasn't Shinobi that we've known from prior games, but in this one he had a very distinctive look.
Yeah, I mean, you know, with, you know, the Shinobi games, the art style has kind of been, you know, pretty varied, you know, because the version of Shinobi we got to play before this was the digitized, you know, Shinobi Legions on the Sega Saturn. So to go from this Mortal Kombat looking, you know, TV show, Ninja TV show art direction to, you know, this new one, you know, it was a pretty big change, you know.
Yeah, that's an understatement.
But, you know, I didn't get to play this game when it first, you know, came out. I think at that point I was playing more kind of PC and Xbox games, and I missed this one. So this was a completely new, you know, experience for me, you know, and yeah, it was definitely kind of a, you know, sneak peek or window back to kind of a, you know, simpler time, you know, for video games.
Oh yeah, definitely. I didn't play this game either. Back when it was originally released. Who knows what I was doing? Maybe I was playing Quake or something. I don't know. But what was strange about it is it was, well, it was challenging, but at the same time it was simplistic. You know, like in any other game, you would, okay, I have a new weapon now I can use, or I have a new special move, or I got a double jump now, or, you know, I've earned this or that. It was just, this is your tool set, and here is the game. Go for it.
Yeah, definitely.
So
nothing was gated off. You just had to go for it and learn how to use everything that you had, which was definitely challenging.
Yeah, like I did enjoy the music. I thought it was very fitting in the game. Like I said, the graphics, you know, they look totally fine for the time period. There was some things worked really well, like the posing, like you would kill like 4 enemies in sequence or something like that, and they go to like a cut scene and everybody shoots geysers of blood. When that actually worked out, it was a cool cut scene, but sometimes, you know, it'd just be like a cut scene of absolutely nothing because the game didn't quite really understood what happened. But it was cool. I had a lot of
Yeah, I mean, there's like a lot of because it was a kind of early 2000s camera and camera setup for the character. It had its kind of ups and downs, but when the camera was working, right, like there is a good game to be played at moments, especially with how direct and how on point it needed to be when it came to the jumping and the air dash as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. The camera, like I said, like how you said it, when it was working, it worked. I found a lot of times when you got into a true, like 360 environment, that's when the camera totally fell apart. But you could tame it, but it was a chore to do so. So the camera was kind of it was close to horrible.
I concur.
It had so many awesome, ninja things in it, like ninjas fighting helicopters. Ninjas and helicopters are the chocolate and peanut butter of the late 90s, and I was glad to see that this was a testament to that time. I mean, you fight
Ninja versus tanks,
and the tanks are weird. Later, they turn into strange, Gradius biomatter, monster tanks. Like, this game's got it all. I mean, it has ninja dogs in it.
Dogs.
Who are well-dressed ninja dogs, if you look at them up close.
With swords in their mouth.
In this game had to dress those dogs. They're not going to dress themselves.
Someone needs to compile a list of every type of creature that Shinobi has defeated throughout his gaming iterations. Like
helicopters,
Godzilla,
illegal Spider-Man,
illegal
Batman,
yes,
illegal Rambo. Well, it's kind of a gray market Batman.
Yeah, that's not Batman. It's not.
Yeah, the bosses, were okay. You two, Daz and Jones, you guys definitely were better at this game than I was. I made it to the end of 2B, second level. You guys actually pierced the layer and made it to level 3. Yes.
3A, man.
Got to 3A.
The shit gets real.
I couldn't follow you.
We broke through to the other side. You didn't want to come over there with us.
It was all bad.
You didn't want to. There's nothing good over there. Pain.
The game throws down the gauntlet on 3A. It's like, alright, you think you're good. It's on now, buddy. It just crushes your soul. Yeah, it was brutal.
Yeah, it would have to go back to a time where, I don't know, like, things were harder to come by, maybe, like, at that point in our life. So, like, that would be, like if I played this game when it originally came out, like, that might have been the game that I was able to afford to buy for the month. So, you know,
that's a rough month.
It would have been a rough month. Yeah, that's definitely true, though. At the time, we weren't buying, like, tons of games left and right.
I was doing a little snooping about it, and the team that worked on this were actually the Sega AM1 team. So these are folks that have been around since, like, the early kind of arcade era, and this originally was supposed to be a Dreamcast game, but due to when it came out,
Dreamcast,
they moved it over to the winning platform. You know, they moved it over to PlayStation 2, and I think this was like one of the last games that team got to work together on, you know, as a larger release. So it's kind of like the end to that team after Sega got acquired by Sammy.
That's interesting. I bet it would have looked nice, like, if it was done by the AM team that did, like, the ports for, like, Virtua Fighter. How they kind of always ran in that, like, the Sega games on the Sega hardware, for whatever reason it is, always looked pretty good. I don't know what reason that was, but, you know, even on the Saturn, they were able to pull off some pretty impressive things.
It's kind of interesting to think about, you know, like, this game, for folks in the audience, we were debating on whether PlayStation 2 was CRT gaming, you know. So we found that PlayStation 2 is kind of like one of our kind of cutoffs for old games. And because it was like on the PlayStation, just something about it, like, kind of to agree with you, you know, it really would have been, it really would have been awesome, you know, as a title on the Dreamcast, because you know that they would have poured a lot more attention because the game was going to be something that was going to be a system seller, you know, versus something that kind of got nixed mid-flight, you know. But I thought the game was cool. I mean, like, just, it had a very cool Sega vibe to it. You know, one of the things that I thought was really awesome in the game was the soundtrack. Like, it felt like, you know, Phantasy Star Online music meets kind of feudal Japan, which was cool. You know, it definitely had that. There's not a whole lot of game music like that nowadays, you know.
No, it definitely sounded good. See, some of the things that I kind of looked up on this game was, you know, I guess apparently it came out back in 2002, and in Metacritic basically has it as the 109th highest ranked game on the PlayStation 2.
Less than or equal to Ninja.
In 2002. With a score of 7.1. So like when I was looking at that, I wanted to look up the other 108 games and see what scored higher than that. That sounds like a lot. I need to do that. I think that's false data. That can't be true. Then let's see. Game Informer gave it an 8. And then GameSpot gave it a 7.6 and called that good. You know, it kind of seems it's a fair game, decent game, not a bad game. Just fairly difficult. I did watch a couple playthroughs on it by much more skilled people than myself playing it. And yeah, it gets pretty intense towards the end of it, like a little borderline ridiculous. Like, I was pretty impressed, actually.
Yeah, I definitely remember when I quit playing it the first time was the level where there was no floor. You start off running around and then the floor disappears and you have to continue across the area by stringing your air dashes and attacks to get all the way across by hitting enemies. And I was like, I cannot physically do this with any form of ability that I have currently. And I couldn't get there now, but that was definitely where I quit before.
Yeah, you know, I just leave this game with so many questions about the Shinobi universe based on all the games that I played up until this point. You know, it's like the game starts and there's like this massive, like, haunted feudal era castle that is like built on a tower of like destroyed skyscrapers. It's like, how does that exist in the same continuum as Shadow Dancer and Revenge of Shinobi? Like, this is a bigger universe than originally thought.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions going on
in the Shinobi cinematic universe.
Yeah, no Joe Musashi in this one.
Yeah, it's written.
Where's Neo-Zed? Where is Neo-Zed? What are they up to?
Joe Musashi beat them.
Evil crime syndicate.
Musashi beat them.
Oh, okay. So this takes place. Never mind.
There's no telling. It's like Disney got a hold of Star Wars and just everything's just, you know, it's chaos.
Hold on, we're losing audience members, John.
Well, I'll bring him back with a little tale that has nothing to do with anything, but you guys might enjoy this. Okay, a little personal information. My father is a pastor, and the other day he was talking to me about a sermon he was writing. Okay, and he asked me the question. He's like, about the past, I don't know, you go back about 4 to 5 months from now. It's like, what was the state that the world was currently in? And I said, well, fear. And he's like, yeah. He's like, now what state is it currently in now? And I was like, well, I don't know. And he goes, anger. So I immediately looked at him and I was like, well, anger leads to hate. And then he's like, well, yeah, it does. I was like, and hate leads to suffering. And I think that's going to be his sermon tomorrow. So there you go. Just a little bone.
Somehow the prequel movies are going to help us through these dark and,
Yeah,
sure
come back in, Star Wars people. I love you. Just, you know. It got weird. That's all I got to say.
I thought we were talking about
we should be. Because it isn't, well, it's ninjas. What's not to talk about? Like, this guy looks like Hanzo from Samurai Showdown. But his name's Shinobi.
Hanzo definitely snuck away and jumped into this game for a minute.
Just a little
The only
bit.
thing he needed was Poppy.
Times were tough. The Sammy money wasn't any good.
Sammy money.
And that was actually Poppy attacking him, and a sword in his mouth. He's like, "You asshole!
Dude, they're,
You're leaving Sammy, taking you down."
It's all mafia stuff.
Ninja Mafia. That could be a game name right there. Well, let's see. We've done 2 so far. We've done Ninja Spirits, and this is Shinobi on the PlayStation 2. Of the 2 Ninja games that we have reviewed so far, which would be your guys? If you had to pick one, Mr. Gohan, which would you choose as?
Oh, I'm going to say we're going to have to wait until the 3rd suspenseful act of the Ninja Trilogy for us to be able to make that call. And I will stand by and say that Shinobi for PlayStation 2 is the dark second chapter of our Ninja Trilogy. It is, to think about when it came out, which was like you're saying in 2002, that was like a couple of years before Ninja Gaiden. We were talking about the reviews, and it was given like a 7.1.
I'd have to see when.
If this was my game, like you said, if this was like the one game that I had, for the month or whatever to play, like I probably would have grinded through it. But, even with that back then, I think I agree with Rude. It's like a solid 7. If it had some of the things that made Ninja Gaiden so awesome on the Xbox, like a little bit more user-friendly camera, and the big thing in a game where you're doing like ninja combat is like you want to be able to have like combos and moves and cancelable attacks, whereas in this game you have to do all the attack animation. There's no kind of technique with how you're blending your attacks. If it had those things, I might have rated it a little bit higher, but I think, the scores historically do kind of reflect, even, with full knowledge that this is my first time playing it as well.
Yeah, I agree. It's kind of a little bit better than middle of the road. It's not a terrible game. It's playable. That sounds like it's a bad review. It's a decent game. Let me rephrase that.
I mean, like when I got it originally, I wasn't upset that I got it. I just was upset that I couldn't play it anymore. And I got stuck, and
I've had many
that was
of those
disappointing.
Games. I've
Yeah.
had, I think Phantasy Star on the original Master System. I love that game, and I got stuck at the very end of it, and I was stuck on that game for like 4 years. And then finally I think that's like in a magazine or something, I learned what I was doing wrong, and then I went back and beat it. But yeah, I understand. Just, you just get to a point and it's just like, what am I doing wrong? I can't do this. But yeah, it was a time period, like 2002. That's the year GTA Vice City came out, and Onimusha 2, Wind Waker for the GameCube.
Yeah, so that gives you a good idea of what this game is up against. Those games coming out at that time. Like PlayStation was still like the market, leader, but Xbox was definitely starting to kind of define themselves with action games. Yeah, like at that point, like Metal Gear Solid 2 is out, and Final Fantasy 10 is out. So there's definitely been some big hitters, on the system.
Well, you definitely had the chosen few that were the like franchises that just continued to go. Plus, you had the birth of countless new franchises that started happening as far as games. There's a lot of competition. Plus, it was it's a whole new way to play video games, basically, as opposed to there's a lot of experimentation going on with just gameplay and graphics. But overall, it was pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I was a huge Shinobi fan. I loved, the first one, Revenge, Shinobi 3 on the Genesis, and then Shinobi Legions on Saturn. I loved all of those. Shadow Dancer on Genesis and the arcade version. All of those were awesome. And so I was concerned about this one when it came out because it was taking a series that I loved and then taking it into 3D. And I was like, oh, okay, well, see how this goes. And again, the art style drew me to it. Now, the environmental stuff wasn't all, it was weird. It wasn't as eye-catching as the main character. The gameplay was interesting, but it definitely, to me, it wasn't as good as the definitely the 2D ones. Those just kind of were awesome, even though a lot of those games are one-hit kill, particularly the first one and Shadow Dancer, which really was the second one, and then Revenge came out after that. But I think Revenge was the first one where you had an energy bar, or yeah, right? You had an energy bar.
Yeah, all the other Genesis ones were, you could get a power up to take a hit. Well, no, actually, Shinobi 3.
Shinobi 3, you had an energy bar. Yeah, I like Shinobi 3 a lot. That one was really cool, and definitely the Saturn Legions did. But yeah, I mean, when I saw that it was coming out, I was like, oh man, this ought to be interesting. But and then it was definitely beyond my ability, but I still love the originals.
Well, it's kind of interesting, right? At the time there were some game franchises were coming into 3D, and some were doing it better than others. Some did it with more grace, and like, for example, there was some like Castlevania 3D beat 'em up games, and Shinobi, this definitely lent itself a little bit better, because it was about this, high flying, jumping, dashing, wall running, kind of gameplay.
Dog murdering.
They're evil dogs. They're really evil.
So evil.
Folks at home, don't fuck with these dogs.
Yeah, they're highly trained. Oh goodness. Well, I mean, you had you had your move set where let's see, you could jump, then do like a double jump with a dash. Then you had like a throwing knife.
You could do the double jump and do the massive knife spread like in all the other Shinobi games, which I thought was a nice touch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I cheated after giving this game, or at least, giving up. I just, there's only so much abuse I could take. So I cheated and I went on YouTube, and I completely was not using my shurikens how I should. Watching some people play with that.
Oh yeah, they like make them like paralyze them, kind of.
Yeah, it stuns them. It doesn't do any damage to them. It just stuns them. So you can't kill somebody with the shurikens. You can just freeze them in place so that you can hit them. The problem is...
I mean, you kind of need to do that for some of the crowd control parts.
Yeah, the problem is that the enemies, once they start blocking, especially the dogs, you gotta do your dash move to get behind them, and that gets a little tricky because the camera tends to work against you at times. But people obviously have been able to do it, and good on them.
Well, what do you think? Like, gave a review. What's your?
I totally agree with the 7. I mean, that's a solid. It's a good game. It's just hard, and I mean, there's two ways around it. It's hard, and it does not like you after level 3. Once you get there, the difficulty curve spikes immensely at that point, and the level becomes way longer than all the prior levels to it, and the enemy count changes incredibly, and it definitely, the game gives you the finger at 3. It really wants you to make sure that you know how to use your damn moves, and if you don't know, then tough shit, you're not getting past it. But a 7 is solid, man. I mean, it's like I said, I don't hate it. It's a good game. It's not my favorite Shinobi game, but it's an interesting take on it for going to 3D. I still prefer all the 2D ones because they're some of my favorite games of all time. But yeah, this one's not bad. It's just it's a little masochistic.
Well, that was Shinobi for the PlayStation 2. This was Dazpick's choice. And
you're welcome.
Thank you, sir. And,
you're not going to get any Christmas cards from me.
But see, so next week we'll have a new choice, and this choice is by Mr. Gohan. And do you have any hints for us on what we'll be playing for next week?
It's definitely something that is a little bit more kind of rare, kind of more uncommon a game. It kind of borrows from parts of, Final Fight and parts of, even fighting games, but it's on the Super NES. So it's completely awesome, just mind-meltingly 90s cyborg ninjas against the criminal syndicate. So yeah, it's definitely, if Shinobi was a jump forward in the timeline,
Sonic Boom!
They jump backwards.
Fair enough. This will be another game that I have not played before, so I'm looking forward to checking this out. Actually,
I have played this one.
Oh,
but I remember when it came out. We had it on Super NES. It was cool. I liked the arcade game a lot, but I definitely never beat it. It was a rental.
We will catch you guys next week with a review on concluding part 3 of the Ninja Trilogy here at CRT Gaming. This is Jones with Dazpick and Gohan, and we will see you then.
Well, until next time,